My name is Bob Stone. I'm the chair of the Underhill Select Board. Today is the 5th of April. It is Friday night. It's 6 o'clock. We are a 5-member select board, and we are in the process of electing 2 members to our select board. So in order to conduct town business at a select board meeting, we must have 3 members of the board. 1 member of the board, Dan Steinbauer, is traveling overseas and at this point in time is not with us. Patty Richards and myself are here. So we will postpone and not hold a select board meeting because we do not have a quorum. However, we will proceed forward with having a public hearing that we do not have to have a quorum of the select board for to discuss the Harvest Crossing. So tonight we are joined by Dan Mann. So I'm going to turn this public hearing, this select board meeting is now going to convert over to a public hearing. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dan, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, golly, no, thank you, for making the arrangements and scheduling this hearing.
Should I read the warning?
Oh yeah, why don't you go ahead and read the warning? Yeah.
So I think it's kind of
important. That's good.
So again, as Bob stated, this is a public hearing. The town of Underhill is considering making application to the state of Vermont for an implementation grant under the Vermont Community Development Program. An in-person and remote option public hearing will be held on Friday, April 5th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at the Underhill Town Hall, 12 Pleasant Valley Road, Underhill, Vermont, to obtain the views of citizens on community development, to furnish information concerning the amount of funds available and the range of community development activities that may be undertaken under this program. The impact to any historic or archaeological resources that may be affected by the proposed project, and to give affected citizens the opportunity to examine the proposed statement of projected use of these funds. The proposal is to apply for up to $500,000 in Vermont Community Development Funds, which will be used to accomplish the following activities: build the road and establish the infrastructure to create a group of affordable homes. Any remaining funds will be applied to the home construction. So this, the notice of this public hearing was posted in 3 public places and on our website 15 days prior. It was also published in the 7 Days, which is the new paper of circulation for the town of Underhill. There you go.
Super. Thank you very much. So again, I appreciate, especially, I understand the difficulties of getting 3 of you in the same room at the same time. So thanks for proceeding, as I understand you're able to do with just the 2 of you here tonight. I come wearing my United Church of Underhill hat tonight. We backed the movie up about 2 years. We came before you to ask for very similar assistance from the town on supporting an application for a planning grant related to this Harvest Crossing project. That was a $50,000 initiative, very similar to this implementation grant that we're now putting together. Only municipalities can receive the money. It is possible for the town to receive the funds and then subgrant the monies to the church. We went through that process with the planning grant, and I think the mechanism would be identical to what we did with planning grant for this implementation grant. Basically, what happens is the town is the recipient of the monies. The church would do the work. We have to comply with all the bid requirements, all the other state and federal requirements for this funding. Once we do something, we pay for it. We have to have the money up front. We pay for it, and then we can be reimbursed after the fact We submit all of the documentation through the town. The town sends it up to the state, to the Vermont Community Development Program. It's reviewed and approved there. The town receives the reimbursement, and then the town writes the church a check to reimburse the church. That's the cycle. We've gotten that dance down, and I think it's not unwieldy, you know, at this point. We know how to do it for everyone. So what we now have the opportunity to do, having successfully completed all of the activities on this planning grant, which were significant. We've done an environmental assessment, we've done a wetlands delineation, we've done an archaeological assessment, we've had the property evaluated. The church has actually purchased the parcel from Phil Jacob. We now own it. We know where the boundaries are on it. We know a lot more about this property today than we did a few years ago. So all of that was very useful activity leading up to now the design of the homes and how the layout would be on the property, leading up to an implementation grant. We are asking the Vermont Community Development Program for up to $500,000, as was listed in the warning. Most of that money, all of that money, would be used for infrastructure development, installing the road, running the utilities, implementing the surface water management system, that sort of thing. Once we make it through the development review board process, we will turn, hopefully, construction-ready lots over to Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity, who will actually build the homes. And the beauty of the Green Mountain Habitat model is that the homes remain perpetually affordable on into the future. And so this would add 8 perpetually affordable houses into the housing stock in Underhill, which we think is kind of a big deal. Okay, so time on this grant application is fairly important, because if we submit the application for this funding cycle, we have access to some leftover fiscal year 2023 funds that the Vermont Community Development Program has. That is important because if we access future funds that they would anticipate receiving from the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development, the feds are phasing in Buy America, Build America requirements. Are you guys familiar with BABA? So the implications of that are that any material that would go into the project, whether it would be work church would do, or whether it would be work Green Mountain Habitat for Humanity would do, if we get future year funding, apparently everything, lumber, pipes, wiring, everything that you would put in has to comply with this Buy America, Build America requirement. If we're able to access the leftover fiscal 23 funds, it's only for steel. And we think there's a limited amount of steel that would go in. If we have to comply with BABA, it's going to elevate the price. It's going to make the administrative complexities much greater in terms of documenting where all of this stuff came from and how it was produced. Okay, what do we need from the select board tonight? Tonight, you need to have this hearing. This is one of the requirements in the application, is a hearing by the municipality. And if you are so inclined, we'll need a vote on this resolution. And I don't know whether not tonight.
So just let's back up a minute. This is a public hearing.
Yep.
We do not have a quorum of the select board.
Got it.
Right. So we are, according to Community Housing and Development, able to have this public hearing. After hearing from the public, the select board at a regular scheduled meeting, which would be the 11th, would entertain or consider signing the resolution
as a separate matter.
Got
it. Thank you. Appreciate that clarification. So, a few other features about this. I think this is this proposal to apply for this grant is cost neutral to the town of Underhill, aside from some time of Brad and Jennifer and Sherry in helping us process the reimbursement request, that there's no other mixing of town money per se with this implementation funds. And I also want to be clear that no action tonight, this is not consideration of any endorsement of the project, that this is a hearing about applying for this grant. And we are still working through the Development Review Board, which would need to give us the approval and the permitting necessary to actually begin construction. So just for everybody's clarification, that's not really a part of what we're about here tonight. I think the grant application is long, it's fairly detailed. I know you folks have had a chance to fully understand it. If there's any questions from you folks or from the public, I'm happy to try and answer those.
Yeah, I would say more the public is more important. That's the purpose of this hearing, is to hear from interested people.
Good.
So we have a couple people here at the town hall, and it looks like we have several people on the virtual environment. So if there's anyone, we can start here because we have two people here, and then we can go to the virtual area. Does anybody here have any questions for Dan?
We don't have any questions. We're just in support of the project.
Okay, so we're set here on, I don't know, Patty, if you have any, but if you're good, then we'll turn it over to the virtual
I do have some
audience.
questions, but I'm happy to have others go ahead first.
Okay, so anybody on the virtual environment, does anyone have any questions for Dan?
I'll call out Lynn. Lynn, I know we had spoke on the phone, and if you have anything to say, now would be a good time. So just come off mute and let us know what you're thinking.
If you can identify yourself and where you live, that would be great, as it's a public hearing.
Sure. Hi, all. I'm Lynn Kemp, and I live on Meadow Lane, abutting the property in question. And I just wanted to just listen in on what the proceedings were this evening, and being a direct impact on the property. So, and I'm sorry that I haven't been more involved up until now, but I'm trying to, catch up and see what exactly is going on with the potential construction and such. So I know that this is just applying for a grant essentially. So I'm trying to learn more about where you're at with how any of the infrastructure may impact our property, or what, the stages of the possible project.
Can I just do an overview of where we're at?
Sure.
Yeah. So I can just give everyone, because actually I'm filling in as the interim zoning administrator. So Harvest Crossing has received an acceptance of sketch plan review. So it's not a decision, but it's after holding 2 hearings, I believe, the Development Review Board issued a letter of acceptance. So basically in that letter, which is available online on our website, it basically states some things that the Development Review Board will be looking for, and it could be above and beyond what the requirements are for preliminary plat review. So this is a 3-step process. There'll be, the next step will be preliminary subdivision review. And then the last step is final subdivision review. So every step of the way, the next 2 steps, all abutters will be warned. And we actually took extra care on this application, even though it's not required by law or by our regulations. We did send notice of the sketch plan review to every abutting landowner. The same will happen with preliminary review. So you will receive certified mail 15 days prior to any hearing that will take place. Materials will be available on the website to review, or you can make an appointment and come in here, and I'm more than happy to supply hard copies for you. But to answer your question about the review process, so we've got a long ways till construction, so there'll be at least 2 more, possibly other meetings that you will be notified.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. Do you know time frame wise what your expectation might be for something like that if all of this is approved?
So sketch plan review or acceptance letter requires that the applicant submit materials for preliminary plat review within 1 year. And I think we received, it was December, perhaps, I think. So they,
True.
I don't know if Dan
December,
wants
January.
to speak to where they're at or not, but again, it'll be plenty of advance notice when we get there.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a engineer that we're working with who's addressing many of the questions that we were asked by the DRB. He's putting materials together, and I think he intends in the next month or 2 to have those available and submitted to the DRB, and then a meeting would get scheduled sometime after that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to address my questions. Can I just ask, I wanted to make sure I was looking at the most recent sketch plan review. Is that the one that was dated March 1st, 2023? Do you know?
Yes. And
Okay.
it shows, does it show, let's see, I don't have my glasses, unfortunately. Does it show 7 units in a duplex?
Yes.
Total units, one of which
Or
is a
actually, I think this one shows 6 in a duplex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
yeah, it's 6 single family and 1 duplex.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, so it'd be 3 along, the duplex is on the right, the bottom right, and then there's 2 single, and then there's 4 singles on the other side.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then it shows a large block of land that will be common space. So that will be, as part of this application, you have to designate open space or common land. So that big block in the middle, that will never be developed.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Well, I shouldn't say never, but it's part of this application is that it will not be developed.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't want to get you off topic. I know that the purpose of the meeting was for the actual grant review, but thank you for your explanation.
Any other questions in the virtual environment?
Okay, we have Maureen Collins Kolb.
Hi, I don't actually have a question, but I had a comment to make if that's okay at this time.
Sure.
I just want to say that I strongly support the town of Underhill helping this grant application go through. I think it's a very good use of both the town and the church moving forward collaboratively. So I just wanted to add my voice of support for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Are there any other questions virtually out there that anybody would like to make comment about?
Jonah?
Thank you. Hello, I'm Jonah Kolb. I live on Pinnacle Ridge. Dan, I just wanted to clarify, you had said that aside from administrative time associated with processing, this would be cost neutral to Underhill. And so these would be additional monies coming into our community. I wanted to confirm that I understood that correctly.
Correct. This is $500,000 or whatever they end up giving us from the Vermont Community Development Program that are extra to the town budget, not anything that appears on any of the town funds right now.
Got it. Okay. And is it appropriate for me to make a general comment now as well?
Sure.
Okay. I'm hugely supportive of small government going through all of the right steps for this. And so I think Dan did a good job of laying out, this is about the grant right now, and the zoning and neighborhood issues are critically important. But I think about focusing on, the single decisions to make at a point in time. And if we have an opportunity to bring more money from outside Underhill into Underhill, I think that is hugely important. And moreover, smart development consistent with the town's plan, housing stock, and doing things that are likely to bring young families like mine to Underhill, I think about as part of the long-term success for small rural towns in Vermont. So I'm in favor of the project. I also realize there's a lot more to go, and there's a lot that I think is important to cover in these for folks like Lynn that are adjacent to the project. But I think about the grant and zoning as being two separate processes. And if we can get outside money in Underhill, I'm hugely in favor. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any others?
Hi, Gail. I see you just popped in, and we're now taking public comment regarding the grant application. If you'd like to say anything.
Gail, do you have any questions for us tonight regarding the obtaining of the grant?
No, actually, I just just noticed the email about 3 minutes ago. So,
Okay. Well, welcome. We're glad you're here.
thank you.
Is there anyone else that has any questions? I know my colleague here is dancing right now. She's very excited about asking her a few questions that she has. So I'm trying to prolong this, as long as I can before I turn it over to her. But I think it's time.
Is there a microphone?
Yeah, that's right. So please.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a couple of just basically for the record, just to clarify stuff for the record questions, and it's kind of on Johanna's line of questioning relative to the funds. Jonah, sorry.
Yeah.
The funds coming into the town. I think I've asked this question repeatedly all the way through. Just to be clear, I've been absolutely impressed with the depth of knowledge that you and the team bring on this project to the table. It's just
Very
been
small, but
tremendous, but it has been tremendous. And you've been able to leverage grant dollars, and the town is, and this is really for the record,
yes,
the town is coming in to the fold of this process for the $500,000 grant because it has to be a municipality that applies for it.
that is correct.
And our contribution will be some minimal staff time, but hopefully reasonably.
I wouldn't say minimal. It's substantial, but but again, I think as Jonah put out or stated, this is in our town plan.
Mhm.
It's an important thing for the community. So it's a way the town can in kind support the project.
Okay, so there will be definitely, maybe minimal is not the right word, but some staff time associated with processing invoices. Brad, you've done a heavy lift already in terms of making sure the grant's in compliance and doing the uploading. In the event there's an invoice that comes through, my understanding of the process is the Vermont Economic Development
Vermont Community Development
Vermont
Program, VCDP.
Community
Yeah.
Development Program reviews it. And in the event they don't approve it, the town is not on the hook for any funds, correct?
That's correct.
That you being the church,
We're on the hook.
would have paid that invoice, and it's your responsibility to pay that invoice. So any grant dollars that don't ultimately get approved, there's no liability for the town in this for anything that is not approved by the state.
I believe that is true.
Okay. This is really for the
Yeah,
record.
and that would be the, go ahead.
The only liability would be the time and effort that we, the town, have put forth
Right.
into this
It's
with our
it's in
staff.
kind
Right.
I
contribution.
think that's correct.
So as we did with the planning grant, we all executed a sub-grant agreement. And in that sub-grant agreement, there were guarantees to the town that the Harvest Crossing Initiative would follow the right procedures. We'll have another sub-grant agreement for the implementation grant if it's successful, and it'll be a lot more in-depth, is my understanding. So there will be guarantees, monetary guarantees that associated with that.
I think this is a great municipal and not-for-profit partnership and fabulous for our community. And there is no financial risk for the town of Underhill relative to the grant dollars because they're reviewed by the state, and ultimately the church is responsible in the event they're not improved.
Oh, and I think even going beyond that, the mechanism when you follow a track of, how does a bill get paid and then subsequently reimbursed in this? See, the church has to have the money to pay the bill up front. So the church goes at risk paying for the invoice up front. And then if for whatever reason it was determined that was an ineligible expenditure or whatever, notice the town hasn't fronted any money, the town's not out any money.
Right.
The church went at risk at every turn.
And as you stated, Patty, it's really the only way that a nonprofit such as Harvest Crossing can even get these funds,
Right.
is through the town.
Right.
So it's the way it's set up.
Yeah.
That was my other.
That's it.
No, thank you. Thanks for getting that on the record. I mean, that's an important consideration.
Well, I guess we'll do one last turn and see if there's anyone else has any questions here at the town hall. And then we'll pivot and go back to the virtual folks and see if they have any questions. Everybody's good here, looks like. Any last minute questions or comments in the virtual environment?
Did you actually get Dan Steinhauer and, did you
No.
have a quorum?
Well,
So that's a great question. So Dan is traveling overseas, and we are a select board now. Since town meeting, we are a select board of 5, and we have 2 vacancies. And as most people know, we are in the process of trying to fill those vacancies through a special election. So in order to conduct town business, the 3 amigos, Dan, Patty, and I, need to be present in order to conduct any business. Unfortunately, Dan ran into some traveling problems today overseas, so he's unable to join us tonight. So we're not able to conduct any select board business. However, we are able to, without having a quorum, we are able to have and hold this public hearing on the Harvest Crossing project. So that's what we're doing, and that's all we're doing is discussing the Harvest Crossing project. And then we will have, hopefully, we'll be able to hold our regular scheduled select board meeting if Dan is able to make through the, connections or overseas to join us and be here next week. So that's where we're at. So we're not doing, I just want to be clear, we're not conducting any select board or town business tonight. We're just holding the hearing.
Okay.
and then during the regular scheduled select board meeting, which on the agenda will clearly state that the select board will be considering a resolution to apply for the grant. And there'll be another opportunity for during the public comment period of that meeting to state any concerns as well.
Good question. I'm glad you asked it, because I think it's a little unusual that we're in these this end of the pool, but here we are, and we'll get through it. It's just a matter of getting through it. Any other questions or any follow-up or anything like that before we call it a night? I'm not seeing anyone, and I'm not hearing anyone here other than the cat. So I guess we will say goodnight to everyone, and we will close this public hearing. And then we will attempt to have our regular scheduled select board meeting on the 11th of April at a time to be determined. I believe it's going to be 6 o'clock, but we may adjust that for our,
I don't know if we can, but, yeah,
okay, well, plan on 6 o'clock, everybody.
there you go.
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having this. Appreciate it.